Hey, welcome back. Now that you have worked on the value proposition canvas as part of the previous exercise, let's explore the value proposition canvas in a bit more detail. The intention here is to share with you some tips and tricks, things that you might have done right or done wrong as part of your exercise. But in the future, you will keep these things in mind and you will become a much better value proposition canvas practitioner. One of the first things to keep in mind is the difference between the two different sides of the value proposition canvas itself. The right-hand side is all about our customer. This is all about understanding. It's not about designing the customer, but understanding them. The left-hand side, on the other hand, is all about the value proposition that we create. This is where we make choices, where we design things, pain relievers and gain creators, as part of our product or service. This also results in a different number of post-its on either of these sides. Whenever we want to create understanding, we tend to have a much higher number of post-its or sticky notes or whatever you have. Whereas when we want to make choices, where we design the product, the service, we tend to have a much lower number of these items. Let's start to deep dive on the right-hand side, on the customer. When we think about the job to be done, you can distinguish between three different types of jobs. We have functional jobs. For example, someone wants to learn something. Then we have emotional jobs. Those are things that are important to that person internally. And we have social jobs. For example, after I learn something, I want to demonstrate what I have learned to my colleagues or to my clients. So whenever you think about the jobs to be done of your customer segments, think about these three categories. What kind of functional jobs do you want to address or do they have? What kind of emotional jobs do they have? And what kind of social jobs might be connected to those functional and emotional jobs? The next piece to deep dive on are the pains and gains. Too often do we see that people take a pain, for example, my credit card could not work. That's definitely a pain, because if you want to make a payment, your credit card needs to work. And then they turn it into a gain. So when my credit card works, that's a gain. But in reality, it's not. You would expect your credit card to be working. So one gain could be the miles that you collect with every payment, and then the family trips or hotel bookings or whatever you can do using those miles. Gains are the outcomes of a job well done. So in the example of the credit card, it could be not only that the credit card works when I want to pay, but that I didn't even have to pull out the credit card because I could pay with my Apple Watch using Apple Pay, or that I collected certain number of miles, or that I got a discount based on the programs that I've subscribed to. So all of those things are parts of the job that the customer wants to get done and things that come on top of that. On the other hand, if you think about pains, make sure that you add some numbers to them, that you make the pain measurable. So for example, if standing in line or waiting in line is a pain, try to put a number on it. Is it 1 minute? Is it 5 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? At what point does waiting in line become a pain for the customer? Another thing to keep in mind when you think about your customer is that in many cases, especially when we think about B2B, so business to business, we forget that we are still selling to people. So even if you're selling to a business, to a company, you're also selling to people. You're selling to the people using the product, so the users. You're selling to the people procuring the product, people in procurement. You might be selling to other people that advocate for the product or not. So always keep in mind, even if you are in the B2B space, that you put in the types of people that you're selling to and understand their job to be done, their pains and their gains. So in the case of procurement, one of the jobs to be done is to be able to get some savings on the product or services that they're procuring. Keep that in mind when you create your offering towards them. Another important point to keep in mind is that you never look at the value proposition canvas independent from the overall business model. Now, in our course, we haven't covered the business model canvas yet. We will do that later. But right now, I want you to know that you always have to jump between the value proposition canvas and the business model canvas. You zoom in and you zoom out to ultimately create a winning product offering or business model. Another point to keep in mind is that even if you have an idea early on, you ideally park it. Why? We want to create a deep understanding of our customers first and foremost. The empathy map that we already learned about and where you did an exercise is a great tool to do that in a systematic way. You can take the key things from that empathy map canvas and put it into the value proposition canvas. You remember? The jobs to be done is what does the customer want to do? And then ultimately we also have the pains and gains. Once you have done that, and only once you have done that, you can move from the right-hand side, the customer profile, to the left-hand side being the value proposition itself. You can always start working on a customer profile in a meeting room. You can get people together that have different expertise, be it people from marketing, from sales, from the regular development teams. You can get all of them in one room and start working on the customer profile. But don't make the mistake to think that the customer profile is correct. You will have a bunch of hypotheses in that customer profile. And as we always do, we have to test those hypotheses. So after starting out in the meeting room, you have to get out of the building. You have to speak to your customers. Now, once you have created this beautiful picture of your customer profile, you need to make sure that the value proposition that you create and those jobs, pains, and gains, that they connect to each other. And in order to do so, you have to make choices. And you also have to prioritize on the jobs, pains, and gains. You won't find a product or solution that will deliver towards all of those jobs, pains, and gains that you identify part of the customer profile. I hope the tips and tricks that I shared with you as part of this video will help you create better and more meaningful value proposition canvases in the future. In our next video, I will share with you an example of a value proposition canvas that we created with regards to these online courses. I'll see you there.